Today and yesterday I spent sanding the rear quarter panels. So I added fiberglass to the body and then covered them with epoxy, several coats, and sanded it down. And in order to get a smooth surface, I would wipe down the surface with water and then look for the reflection with the lights to see if there's any warping, and then use this ruler straight edge with double-sided tape and sandpaper, and then sand it along the surface. And when you sand it, you can see the epoxy flake off and it turns white. So any of the areas that were patchy white and then solid color, I know that I would be smoothing the contour. And for some of the sharp curves, I just bend it like this so that it curves and creates an even smooth surface along the surface. So I think I'm happy with these. Took all day to get where they are. When I add the wax and the mold release, it'll alter it a little bit, but that's fine. This whole surface will be apart, and then I'll do the roof next. But I think these are going to be good. I can't see the reflection right now, but if I add some water, or I'll do that actually. So the surfaces aren't going to be perfect, but they're going to be pretty close. So if the body was finished with a nice clear coat and you're looking at a reflection, or specifically lights in a garage, that you would see the shape of the lights wouldn't be deformed, and that the placement wouldn't warp too badly. Let's see if I can capture some of the reflections. The water has to be an even, smooth surface in order for this to work. So I can see the reflection of the lights, and I just walk around the whole body, all the surface and all the edges. Anytime that, because the lights are long fluorescent, anytime that I can see the lights would curve is fine because that's the form, but any incongruent deformations from the light, then I would get out the sander and then sand it down. They're not perfect, but there's pretty complex curvature right there. So I'll be busy this weekend, but Monday I'm going to do another double check. I'll look very carefully at all of the surface and then start making molds. So cover it in wax and then spray on mold release, and then start adding fiberglass to the part. There's not a lot of light back here, so I would move them over there. This is just to show there isn't really a good amount of water. This is just a demo. So a lot of people were commenting on why I added fiberglass to the part and not just cover it in some kind of fill and then one layer of epoxy. The reason is that these parts are pretty big and heavy, and you can see this crack line down the center here. These two parts were glued together, and I put them together to the form that I want, to the correct size. and they're only held together with some glue. I've added some, and this spray foam filler. So when I was moving these around, it would crack down the center and these two parts wouldn't be aligned. So I'd be sanding the surface and then they would shift slightly, and then you'd see that because they were smooth and now not aligned perfectly, you'd see that the reflection was off. So it was like working on a moving target. There's no way that this would stay together. Now that there's fiberglass in here, the surface is thicker because there's more epoxy, but it feels a lot sturdier, and I don't have to worry when I pull the mold off. I'm gonna keep these. Maybe I'll assemble them and put them into the form of the car, but I don't have to worry about this breaking, because the only thing that was holding it together is this expanding foam. It did take a long time. I think 4 coats of epoxy on top of the fiberglass and sanding. So weeks worth of work. But I'm gonna keep these, and I'm happy with the result. Once the molds are done, I can 3D scan it just to keep a record of the form in case I need to print them again. Actually, I can see something right there and there. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that. That's a bit better. I also cut off 1/8 of an inch off the hood, and then the doors on the sides and bottom, but I left the top so that when the fiberglass wraps around the edge and then I get a little extra space, that there's going to be a gap for the body panels, because these will move, they'll open, and there needs to be a bit of a gap so that they don't whack each other. So that's one layer of epoxy. This will all be smoothed down. These came out pretty nicely because I used one sheet. I cut it down the center so that there's no binding. But this is all going to be very easy to sand because it's all just one piece. Yeah, so there were a couple of issues that I sanded. It's not perfectly smooth, and there will be a little bit of loss because of the wax. And that's fine because the parts can be finished and obviously painted with clear coat, so that'll add a little bit of material to the finished parts that can be sanded. And that's the process. I've been spending the past couple of days just watering them down, wiping the water smooth, and then looking for any issues that I need to sand. Okay. I'll check them one more time and then wax them and make parts. And these will be kind of cool to see on the car. I'll have to make mounts. So the rear quarter panels go on here, up to about here. Cut off here, so they'll go right here